welcome to The Outside Story. My name is Jessica, and today I am joined with my two co-hosts.
Hi, I'm Larry.
Hi, it's me, Jonathan.
And today is the first episode of Season 2 for our podcast, and we're changing up our format a little bit with the shows that we're covering. The first change is to our Sibling Wars. So instead of one sibling forcing the other two to sit through a content of their choice, one sibling will suggest a topic, and the three of us will propose and debate our decision.
The Academy Awards is an exciting annual event for filmmakers and moviegoers alike. We get to see our favorite films and stars receive the highest honor for their achievement. Earlier this year, we were all ecstatic when Parasite won Best Picture against all the other contenders.
Oscar goes to Parasite.
But what if we placed Parasite against other Best Picture nominees from other years? Would the outcome have been different? That is the concept for this episode's Sibling War. For this episode, I, Larry, proposed a sibling war for the Best Actress that has won an Academy Award with no restrictions. In other words, the best of the best. Here is our Sibling War segment. I personally chose and I proposed Brie Larson. She won Best Actress for Room.
I chose Natalie Portman for her role in Black Swan.
And I chose Susan Sarandon for her performance in Dead Man Walking.
Originally, I know Brie Larson from her previous roles in Short Term 12. And she absolutely nailed Short Term 12. And the thing is, I've never seen Room, so it's a little weird to propose this.
Oh, you hadn't seen Room?
No, I hadn't seen Room before.
I haven't watched it yet?
Fair.
No, I hadn't. No.
I thought you did already.
No, I hadn't. I had not seen it. But knowing her role...
Wait, before the Sibling War?
Before the Sibling War, I've never seen Room. But knowing her role in Short Term 12,
sure.
I was like, if she won an Academy Award for Best Actress for Room, then I know, like, it must be that good. Nowadays, Brie Larson is, like, she's a meme for being Captain Marvel, but, like, before all of this, okay, Brie Larson is still a pretty damn good actress. And she definitely nailed her performance in Room. In Room, she plays a teenage mother who is captured by her assailant and locked in a shed for about, I want to say 7 years, if I remember correctly. And then during this time, she raised her son that she had during that time. And so in the film, she goes and tries to find a way to escape from this shed that they call Room.
So my pick was Natalie Portman in Black Swan. The last time I saw this was, I think, earlier this year. Only because, well, it was the second time I've seen it. Mm-hmm. I already watched it once, but that was like a long time ago. But the most recent time I watched it was, this past year. Only because you guys know why, like, BTS came out with their song Black Swan. And it's not...
Surprise there.
Yeah, surprise. It's not based off of this movie, but it has, like, similarities.
It's based on the same origin.
Yeah.
It feels very, like... I would say, like, it feels very similar.
Like it's similar. It's not... It's similar, but it's also, like, there's a lot of differences within it. But anyway, that was the last time I watched it, right? Mm-hmm. But, come on, you guys. Natalie Portman, she is, like, a freaking household name. Well, minus Star Wars, okay? Like, forget that. Scratch that.
Prequel, yeah.
Scratch. Yeah. Forget that she did that, okay? Other than that, like, Black Swan, in this role, she is... going a little nutso, and she, I think, plays the role so well of, having like two distinct characters. So in this role, she's a ballerina, and she basically wants to be the best of the best in this Swan Lake. So she does what she has to do to get this role, but then this role starts to kind of, take over her, and she starts going a little crazy because she thinks like someone else is after her role. And this whole movie just like follows her like transformation of becoming the Black Swan. So I think Natalie Portman, she's such a method actor. She chooses roles that will bring out something different in her. So yeah, Natalie Portman is my pick.
I chose Susan Sarandon in Dead Man Walking. When Larry had proposed this, I looked through the list of all the actresses in all the movies that they were in, and I felt it was a little unfair because I hadn't seen a lot of them, and so I wanted to pick one that I had seen before. Cough, cough, Larry. And so I was like, okay, which one of these have I seen? And then I'm like, okay, this is a good film, and the actress did well in it. And that movie was Dead Man Walking with Susan Sarandon. And I'd watched this film actually for a film class when I was in seminary. We watched in class, and then we discussed it afterwards. And I think Susan Sarandon does great in this film. I mean, it's a very slow burn, but I think that's the point, because on death row, people who are sentenced to death by the death penalty, they also experience that sort of slow move towards their own ending. In Dead Man Walking, Susan Sarandon plays this nun who receives a letter from a man on death row, Matthew Poncelet, and visits him in jail. They're complete strangers, and she ends up befriending him and becoming his friend and kind of spiritual guidance counselor towards the end of his life on death row. And so she gets to know this man, she gets to know his family, she gets to know the families that are involved in the crime that he committed, and all that stuff. I think it's a beautiful film if you give it the time. It was also released in 95, so it's definitely aged, and Susan Sarandon did great in it, I thought.
I thought you were going to say, and Susan Sarandon didn't age.
She did not. She looks the exact same.
I thought that's what you were going to say for some reason. I don't know.
Man.
Anyways.
Yeah, it was a surprisingly good movie. I actually liked it a lot.
I mean, I was, 6 when Dead Man Walking came out, and so definitely not a movie for a 6-year-old to watch.
No. Definitely not.
Oh, man. Yeah, but amazing film and great acting in it.
So I guess we'll start voting now. Like I said, I was really surprised by Susan Sarandon's performance. It is definitely aged. In fact, I don't really remember the first 30 minutes of the film because it's that slow.
Yeah,
but,
it's quite slow.
Yeah, things started picking up a lot better in the later half, and that's when her performance started to shine a lot more. But I'm actually going to pick Natalie Portman in Black Swan because I'm a little biased towards Darren Aronofsky, just a little biased. And watching Black Swan yesterday, I was like, man, I totally forgot how good this film was. I was like, why did I like this film so much? Because I watched this film when I was in college, but I just remembered it being a good film. I just couldn't remember why. And I sat through it and I was like, oh yeah, I remember why. Natalie Portman's performance is definitely part of it, so I'm picking Natalie Portman.
With Dead Man Walking, Susan Sarandon, I feel like, yeah, her...
You became a dead man walking.
Yeah, literally. I was like, oh, when is this going to end? Similar to what Larry said, your comment on her performance shining, it didn't shine until, literally the last 20 minutes. And they were, kind of just talking. It was the day of, his execution. I feel like that's when her performance picked up, too. Because I feel like before the last 20 minutes, I feel like Sean Penn shined more than Susan Sarandon did. And I've never seen a Sean Penn film. I know who he is, and I know he's a good actor. But I think he really shined in, more than the first half of the film. Mm-hmm. And then Susan Sarandon kind of just, stole the show from there. But I'm going to have to pick Brie Larson because I have seen Room, and I also love Brie Larson, so...
Surprisingly, I am going to give this to Natalie Portman because I didn't think Brie Larson did that great in Room. I thought she did fine, but I think knowing Brie Larson as an actress overall shows how great of an actress she is in Room. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Whereas Natalie Portman, if you've never seen Natalie Portman before and you watch Black Swan, I think you definitely are like, okay, wow, this is a great actress, And so, yeah, I'm going to give it to Natalie Portman. I feel like sometimes it's a little unfair when it comes to, Best Actress awards because some roles are written in such a way that demands a better actress. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel this way for these 3 movies. I definitely feel that for Black Swan. The main role in Black Swan demands a very, very great actress to play it. Whereas I feel like the other 2 films, Dead Man Walking and Room, Not necessarily. It's like, yes, you need a good actress, but like I feel like Black Swan just demands more.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my vote.
Black Swan. Natalie Portman.
Yay,
Yes.
Black Swan.
Yeah, if you have not seen it, go check it out.
Cool. Thank you, Larry, for the Sibling War debate. And next, we will get started on Mulan. It's the summer of 2020, and like most summers, people are watching movies. You could argue that in the summer of 2020, more movies are being watched than ever in the history of cinema. But something is different about this summer. Very different.
Movie theaters are empty. Some movie theaters are completely empty and closed. There's a pandemic that's keeping people from going outside and socializing. So, what better thing to do than sit inside and watch a movie?
So much of life has changed because of COVID-19, the disease that's responsible for the pandemic of 2020. What was supposed to be a blockbuster-packed summer has turned out to be a summer of scrolling through titles on Netflix. Entertainment companies, especially companies like Walt Disney, have hit the ground hard, so they're forced to try out new things.
Mulan, which was supposed to come out in theaters in March, was pushed to the beginning of summer and the end of summer. And then the news hits that Mulan was going to be available on Disney Plus for a premium. A big ol' whopping $30 to have access to the film. The crowds went wild. And not in a good way. For us, that $30 didn't seem that heavy, so we knew we wanted to support the film. What we didn't know was what we were getting ourselves into. Here's a quick synopsis and our opening thoughts on the film. This Mulan 2020 follows Mulan on her journey to basically, taking her father's role in this, the war, so that her father doesn't have to go. And it kind of follows her journey to, finding herself. But yeah, first impressions, I was like trying to pay attention to the movie, pay attention to the chat, so it was like a little hard.
For those of you who don't know, we held a Mulan watch party on the day it came out.
On, and I was like, damn it, but I didn't want to stop because I didn't want to, lose my place. So I was like, dang, it's Disney, and they're doing a live action Mulan. So my hopes are like all the way up to the sky, like my expectations are very high. And there was just so many things from me, first impressions, like so many things that I missed that it was in the animated that wasn't in the live action. Like I knew my expectations were high, but I was trying to bring them down lower so that my hopes weren't, just, I don't know, gone to the grave or something. But yeah, first impressions, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. It was just missing a lot of things. That's all I'm going to say for right now.
Okay. I was mainly curious, throughout the whole film, I was really curious about how they were going to pace themselves. Like, are they going to go super quick? Are they going to go super slow? Or what are they going to do? What are they going to develop? What are they going to work on? What are they going to show? So I was mainly on the lookout for that. Mainly, big differences between the animation and the live action. Even after the film finished, I had to really, ponder and think about, what it is I liked and disliked about it, so.
First impressions, it was fine.
It's cool.
It's fine.
That's
cool.
all. That's my first impressions.
All right.
It's fine. Overall, that's how I really felt about the film, though. It was just fine. Not amazing, not terrible, just fine. For a movie that's so close to our hearts because of the magic that it brought to us as children, that's not really a good thing. But what was good about Mulan? Was there anything that we liked? Well, here's some of our conversation about that.
I like the throwback to the music from the animation.
Yeah.
Because the music was one of the more iconic things from Mulan. Not only Mulan just being an Asian story, but the music, it wasn't Alan Menken's time, but still, For those of you who don't know, Alan Menken is the musical mastermind behind Disney films like The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and Pocahontas, just to name a few. Notable songwriters and composers for Mulan include Matthew Wilder and David Zappel, who wrote Reflection, and Jerry Goldsmith, who composed the score and that also memorable moment when Mulan cuts her hair with her father's sword.
I did like the new song that they had with Christina Aguilera, the Loyal, Brave, and True. I did like that song.
Loyal, Brave, and True is the ending title song to Mulan, and it reinforces the idea that a warrior is, well, loyal, brave, and true. Although Jessica liked this track, I couldn't get over the pentatonic scale motifs and inserts of Chinese musical instruments here and there. It's as if the writers and producer tried to create this song and then they asked themselves, wait, we have to make it sound Asian. Yeah, let's make the vocal riff a pentatonic scale and then insert an Asian sounding string instrument, which is more reminiscent of a Japanese koto than a Chinese gucheng. But hey, no one can really tell the difference anyway. Okay. Off of the ranting soapbox for now. We'll return to this criticism later, though. What else did we like about the film? This film was filmed for the big screen. I feel like it needs to be watched in theaters because there are just so many beautiful shots in there that I just had to unfortunately watch on my really tiny TV. You know what I mean? And it's just, I don't know, it's just unfortunate that we are in the times that we are because like there are just some beautiful sunset shots, some beautiful landscape shots of China and stuff like that too, which there's a flip side to that. I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about that later. Like them filming in China, there's a big scandal that I'm sure everybody's already heard If you haven't yet heard of these scandals, we'll cover them later. But for now,
scandals.
more of the good stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Regardless, the landscape shots are absolutely beautiful, and some of the cinematography is just great. And then I also feel like they did a lot of good things in terms of like empowering women on the screen.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I really, really loved. There was, kind of Mulan chasing after her own, like, what does this mean, for me if I have this, if this is who I am. And I think that's really great. And then you have kind of the redemption of one of the villains in the film, who is a woman, who is also trying to empower Mulan too, in that sort of way, kind of support, other women. And then there's her sister, who kind of went the traditional route of getting matched with a husband, and Mulan was able to celebrate in that with her and not like tear her down and say like, oh, why are you still going through all the traditional things? That's bad. Like it's actually still a good thing, and that's kind of her choice to go through with the traditional route. And so there are a lot of good moments of women empowerment, and I really appreciate that from this film. So yeah, and I think other than that, that's it.
Okay. I agree with you, Jonathan, about like the women empowerment. Like if you're friends with me and you know me, like, being Hmong and, being a Hmong woman, there are expectations of you as, your role as like a wife, anya, and like, I'm not just making a weird sound here. I'm saying the Hmong word for daughter-in-law, which is nya. For those of us who grew up in the Hmong culture, there are a lot of implications that come with this one word. One of the jokes we make as Hmong young adults is the idea of a nya kopa, or a $10,000 daughter-in-law. Whenever we see one of our friends doing chores, obeying elders, or speaking Hmong well, we call them a nya kopa. Although, now we've made the joke gender non-exclusive by calling our male friends val kopa when we see them doing similar things. So, like, for me, like, I hated growing up, like, I hated being put in, like, that box. I'm just like, no, like, that's not going to be my life's purpose. Like, I'm going to have more to my life and be more driven than just, like, just take care of my husband and, like, and my kids and, like, that's it. No, like, if you know me, I'm just like, no, there's more to that. So, like, I really appreciate, like, what they did with that, like with the women empowerment, and definitely like Asian representation. I'm glad they didn't have yellow face, like a white woman trying to be Asian. I was like, no thanks. For those of you who aren't familiar with the term yellow face, again, it is a white person playing an Asian role. The practice of yellowface began a long time ago in Hollywood and is still common today with actresses like Emma Stone and Scarlett Johansson playing roles that are meant for Asian people. Back in the day, actresses even went on to win Oscars for their performances in yellowface. Gross? Yeah, we think so too. So I'm glad that, they did cast all Asians.
Yeah, I'm glad Matt Damon did make an appearance too.
Or Scarlett Johansson.
I'm making a reference to Matt Damon's appearance in the film The Great Wall, where he plays a white savior figure. A white savior is essentially when a white person, usually male, comes to the rescue of people of color. If it's not yellowface, it's the white savior problem.
And, and our Hmong brother, Duo Mo, hello, like Hmong American, representation on the screen. Like, it was...
Yeah, that's great.
It was really great to see him on screen. Like, I mean, we saw him in, if you guys have seen Gran Torino, he's also in Gran Torino. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. He's in there.
I heard the sergeant was Hmong, too.
Was he?
The sergeant who was, like, telling everyone... like, disgrace or dishonor on your family,
laying out all the rules.
Yeah, laying all the rules. Yeah, I heard he was
death.
Yeah, I heard he was Hmong too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, not see like more representation, right? Because just from all the good things I've seen, like Duo posted, like people messaging him and just being so appreciative of like him, pursuing his dreams. So like it's great, seeing like someone who is Hmong, and, we're obviously the lesser of the Asian minorities, right? I don't mean lesser in a negative sense here. I just mean we're hard to find. And yes, of the 17.3 million Asian Americans in the 2010 census, there are about 260,000 Hmong Americans. And with the inclusion of a Hmong actor, that about concluded our list of good things we liked about Mulan. Now, here's a conversation about the not-so-great things.
I thought the story moved a little bit too fast. 1 minute Mulan is chasing down the Warrens on horseback, and the next minute she is in the geyser pool with the witch lady finding herself. And then right after that she reveals herself and fights all the Warrens. And that was a really, I wouldn't say a long sequence, but it was a pretty significant sequence in the animation. And so I was a little disappointed how they just kind of sped through that in like less than 10 minutes. I'd say less than 5-10 minutes. So I wasn't a huge fan of that, because not only that, but like most Chinese epics or Chinese wuxia films, like they tend to flesh out a lot, and they take freaking forever to kind of get to their story. Like Untamed, for example, and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, very slow burn, but like very like epic in its scale and how they flesh out all the characters. I'm naming two giants in Chinese storytelling here: The Untamed, a 50-episode Chinese wuxia drama that has garnered over 8 billion views worldwide, and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, a wuxia film released in 2000 that broke Oscar and box office records. Wuxia is a Chinese word that references a specific type of story. Like, if someone told you they were going to tell an urban legend or a sci-fi story, you already know what to expect. Similarly, wuxia is a category of story. Wuxia typically takes place in the Jianghu, or fictional martial arts world. Wuxia is heavily influenced and grew out of a Chinese literature genre. The Jianghu is usually set in ancient China, but doesn't look at real historical figures. Instead, it focuses on fictional people or characters from legends with superpower like martial arts. The original story of Mulan is a poem, so one could interpret it into a wuxia story, especially with the idea of qi being so center to the live-action adaptation.
Every sort of universe has their rules and their laws on what happens in that universe, right? Like, for example, in Lord of the Rings, Tolkien's elves are tall, right? Like, they're not the short Keebler Santa elves, you know what I mean? Like, they're the tall, very elegant elves,
long,
you know what I mean? Yeah, so it's like, okay,
elegant,
cool,
yeah.
Those are elves, you know what I mean?
Keebler elves. Or the elves from Eurovision.
Yeah, the Santa elves. And so, everybody kind of has their own, like, okay, these are elves. And so I kind of felt like they were trying to do that with Chi. Because, like, they made Chi feel like something that was exclusive to, like, only men can use it, you know? And so women who use Chi are looked down upon. And the funny thing is, or the ironic thing is that like they're also trying to be like a martial arts wuxia sort of film, right? Like you can kind of feel that from the scarf cloth fighting with you know, like all that stuff. Like it kind of feels like they're trying to be like a wuxia film. And so the irony is that like in wuxia films and in wuxia lore, women are allowed to have chi. You know, like women are almost expected to have it, right?
That's why they're all like badasses in wuxia films and wuxia stories.
You look at like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Michelle Yeoh's character. Like, she's not less of a woman because she has chi. You know what I mean? And she uses it. Like, she's still a woman, but then she just has chi. You know, and so like I don't know how I feel about the writers kind of taking that very core element of what it means to be like wuxia fantasy, Chinese fantasy, and then kind of like messing with it to make it dependent on your gender. You know what I mean? Like making it a gender issue now,
right?
You know? And so that was a little weird for me, having watched like so many like wuxia stuff and like seeing that like wuxia fantasy and Chinese fantasy treats men and women on very equal levels in terms of power and like identity and stuff like that. And like, you know, women can be just as strong as men when it comes to like kung fu and martial arts and when it comes to chi. It just kind of feels weird to watch Mulan then and to have chi be such a gendered problem, you know? And so I thought that was really weird. And a little ironic because it's like, oh, we're trying to be like this, but then we're going to kind of like spin it and twist it in such a way where it's now like a male-female problem, you know? So I don't know how I feel about that. I think I don't like it. But then again, also, like I prefaced this with the idea of like, oh, these are elves in Tolkien's, you know? So like if Tolkien wants to make those kind of elves, sure. But then we have like white people who are the writers for this film, right? And they're taking like something that is kind of like an Eastern idea or an Asian idea.
Like they almost didn't do their research.
Yeah.
Or didn't want to do their research.
Or they tried to.
They tried to and they should have asked
they
someone
quit halfway.
but didn't. Yeah. It was like the night of that they had to turn in their script and they're like, oh shoot, like, you know, like cramming.
I think.
Yeah.
I just want to butt in real quick. I think
the
reason why, if they felt like they had to do it, is because the core story of Mulan is originally about those two gendered things, male and female. I just think chi was the wrong thing to use.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Chi was the wrong thing to use. Like Mulan originally used tradition, you know, tradition, honor, etc., or whatever, which is why Mulan was fine. The animation was fine, but then the live action uses chi, and it's like, bro, chi. Everyone can use chi, bro. Like, what you doing? What are you talking about? Everyone can use chi, man.
Oh man. I kept on joking with my roommates while we were watching this. Like, I kept on joking that Donnie Yen is gonna be like, Mulan, I know you can use the Force. Like, use the Force with me, you know? Because Donnie Yen is also in Rogue One, and he's all about the Force in Rogue One, and so I kept on joking about that. But I feel like it's the same thing, you know? Like, it's like everybody can use the Force in Star Wars, you know? Like men, women, whatever, you know, children. Same thing with like chi, you know, and so for them again to paint chi in such a way, it just kind of feels a little weird, especially because it's white folks doing it, you know. Maybe that's the big problem with Mulan. It's a Western telling of an Asian story. Everything just feels really, and excuse my language here, it feels Oriental, and I do mean that in a negative way. There's this sense of Orientalism in the film that hangs over like bad incense. From the overly vibrant colors and makeup to Mulan's village, to the story, and even the dubbing of Jet Li's voice. Everything just feels like a white person came in and said, actually, let's make this more Chinese. This is what I meant earlier when I was talking about loyal, brave, and true. The sense of Orientalism in this film is a little overbearing and all too real. Which is what I feel like the writing for this film is just all over the place, and it's not good. It's like the writers ordered 200 bags of fortune cookies, cracked them all open, and then took the fortune cookie lines and put them in the script. Like, I felt like that's what they did.
Oh man,
You know what I mean?
That's a good,
great
yeah.
analogy. Wow.
I felt like that's what they did, you know? Like, so
Why
if
didn't they start reading numbers on the back? Like,
So if you like cheesy fortune cookie lines, you will love this film.
how else could we tell that a white person was telling this story? Well, a lot of things that Asians and Asian Americans see as important are missing. It's as if all we care about is being loyal, brave, and true, and our honor. We can't forget our honor. What else is important to our culture? Well, food is like such an important part in like Asian culture. Like, you know, a lot of things happen around the dinner table. I mean, you could say that about like any culture really, but like for Asian culture, it's like it's a huge thing. Just being around food, gathering, like being in the kitchen, cooking, and all this stuff. Like, I feel like that was missed opportunities in the movie. We saw like little clippets of it, snippets of it, but I wish there were more. You can argue that there are moments with food. When Mulan's dad gets mad at Mulan, they're eating at the dinner table. And one of Mulan's few scenes with her friends, if you can call them that, happens around lunchtime when they eat together. But we Asians absolutely need a food montage. We can't even tell what they're eating, and that is a huge bummer.
Another way we could tell white people did this was Mulan's relationship with her dad. Here's a little bit of our conversation on that.
This dad just must have been, I don't know, like
Hella
the coolest,
progressive.
hella progressive, like the coolest dad ever. Because, you know, like Asian dads aren't affectionate, like Asian parents. Most, I'm not going to say all, like most, right? That's just how like they grew up. That's what they learned from their families and their dads and their parents or whatever.
Yeah, they gotta be
So,
strong
like,
and they gotta be...
yeah, you got to be strong and,
Yeah.
you know, be the man of the household, the head of the household. And so I feel like at the end when the dad's like, you know, opening his, you know, it's like open arms, you know, welcoming like Mulan back. And I was just saying, like, wouldn't it have been funny if instead of her dad hugging her, he like said like, "Are you hungry?" I feel like,
Yeah.
or like, "Did you eat yet?" I feel like all the Asian people would have cried and be like, "Yeah, Dad, I'm hungry."
I want to add on to that a little bit too, that like I think also the way that we receive love from our parents too, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was debating whether or not I want to share this, but I think this is really important.
Yeah.
I shared this with my roommates, and this kind of gave them kind of like a bigger, like, oh, that makes so much sense. But a couple years ago, I had come out to my parents, and it was something that like I kind of consulted like my whole family about, because I felt like this was a family ordeal. And after I'd come out to my parents, like my parents still like they kind of just looked at me. My mom was crying. And my dad, you know, like they both looked at me and they said that they still loved me, right? And as much as like, as much as I believe that, a part of me like received it, but then had a hard time like grasping it and saying like, oh yeah, my parents are still going to love me, like despite my identity and despite who I am and stuff like that. Like I'm still their son. Like I want to believe that, right? But I think it was like during that trip, I was flying out and my dad insisted on taking me to the airport. I think I had originally asked Larry to take me, but then my dad was like, no, I'll take you. And I was just kind of like, okay, whatever, you know? And so my dad took me to the airport and we were riding and driving. And then when we almost got there, my dad, like, he looked at me and he was still driving and he was kind of paying attention driving and also at the same time not looking at me. But he took like money out of his wallet and he gave it to me. And he said, this is for you. I want you to take it. And it was like maybe like $150. And it was at that moment that I realized that my dad still loved me. That no matter what I did or what I told them, no matter me coming out, like it didn't change that he loved me. You know what I mean? Like he could have told me however many times he wanted, like during our conversation, he could have hugged me like any of that stuff. But then I wouldn't have received it. You know, I wouldn't have really believed it. But then it was in that moment where, like, my dad insisted on taking me to the airport, where my dad insisted on giving me the money, that I realized that, like, no matter what I say, no matter what I do, my parents are going to love me no matter what. And that didn't happen at the end of Mulan. You know what I mean?
I mean, if that did happen, man, we all would have been bawling and crying, like, this is a great movie, you know? That's what we would have said. Like, that one scene would have redeemed the whole movie. But yeah, like...
Do you guys know what I'm talking about, though?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just like for Asian parents, you know, they don't flat out say, like, I love you. I mean, I feel like now that we're grown up, it's changed a little bit. Like, I feel like we're more affectionate. I don't know. I am. Like, I tell mom and dad, like, I love them.
Right.
And that, you know, like, I give them hugs and stuff. Because, you know, we didn't do that growing up. So, like, I do that now. But, like, my parents will not be the first ones to say I love you. Like, yeah, but they'll tell me they love me in a different way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which like that, I feel like, I don't know, maybe it could just be like for Asian people, but like they show their loves through like acts of service.
Mm-hmm. Or action
Like,
in general, yeah.
Yeah, like, or action,
Yeah.
like cleaning or like doing, you know, cooking and making a full meal. Like whenever we go home, like, and visit Jason's family, like his mom cooks him like this huge meal, and Janet's always like, "Mom doesn't do this for us all the time." Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like that's how she shows,
man.
you know, Jason that she loves him. Like she cooks him like his favorite foods and, you know, things like that. So like, yeah. So I feel like even. Maybe, again, like with the writing, like they wouldn't have known that, like, because they're white.
They just opened
Like-
a bunch of fortune cookies. I told you. Yep. I really do think they just ordered a bunch of fortune cookies and had the interns crack them all open and find the best ones. In addition to the not so great dialogue and, at least from an Asian perspective, awkward relationship between Mulan and her father, the characters themselves were a little lacking.
The character development, there was none. Zero. Zilch. Like, none at all. Like, in the animated film, we get Mulan bonding with her friends, right? Like, and that's what this movie missed, was that. Like, I get the stories about Mulan. Like, that's what it was in the animated film. But why couldn't she had any more scenes with like her friends?
Jess is making a lot of comparisons here between the animated film and the live action film. It's hard not to. There were also some scenes that come straight from the animated film that just don't hit as hard in the live action. The scene where Mulan leaves her family is one of them.
Like the cutting of the hair, the taking her dad's armor, his sword, like her dad was just like, "Oh, my stuff is gone." Like, dude, like seriously, that's it? That's all we're gonna get? Like, my stuff is gone. Maybe the hair cutting thing I kind of get because men had longer hair back then anyway. But then in the animated film, her hair wasn't that short. It was still like, you know, shoulder length. So I feel like she could have cut it. There are just so many scenes that were like missing that could have been written to make the movie.
Yeah, like the haircutting thing isn't
Yeah.
a logical thing. It's supposed to be a symbolic thing.
Right,
Yeah,
it's a
that's why people
symbolic
are
thing,
so
'cause,
like disappointed that it wasn't there.
Yeah, because like even like for women, like when we cut our hair, I feel like it's a start of something new, like something fresh, like a new season. I feel like that's for me. Like when I cut my hair, like, okay, like I'm cutting off all these things that, you know, have weighed me down,
Right.
basically. So I feel like that was an iconic scene that they left out, and I think Ming Na like threw a little shade at
Mulan has got to be one of the most scandalous films to come out this year, and that's very unfortunate. The very first scandal to have risen was main actress Liu Yifei's social media message, which was in favor of the Hong Kong police during the Hong Kong riots. This message started the hashtag boycott Mulan. In today's cancel culture, a lot of people are okay with boycotting something because of a single person. For the three of us, it mattered, but not enough to cancel the other hundreds or maybe even 1,000 other people who poured their hearts into the making of this film. But this scandal, this pushes us over.
When Mulan released, it was shown in the credits that Disney thanked the Xinjiang government's publicity department and the Public Security and Tourism Bureaus for Turpan. These governmental institutions are linked directly to Xinjiang, where as many as 2 million minorities, who are mostly Muslim, have been imprisoned in enormous re-education camps since 2015. The Turpan Public Security Bureau is even listed by the United States government as an organization that violates and abuses human rights.
Yikes. I don't know how anyone at Disney didn't catch this while scouting for the film. Maybe they couldn't hear the screams of marginalized people over the sound of fortune cookies being cracked open.
You can probably tell that we didn't love this film. It was one of the biggest letdowns of 2020. Well, besides life being shut down, that is. We'll leave you with some of our final thoughts. Personally, Mulan just had so many missed opportunities because you already had so many great examples of, Chinese cinema and everything. I know Hollywood is big, Bollywood is big, but the next one I personally think is, Chinese Hong Kong films. You cannot beat them on their scale when it comes to telling their kind of stories, their fantasy stories, their wuxia stories, their dramas, their epics, their whatever it is. They've been telling these stories for a very long time. So you have so many people, so many talented people, so many people you can use as consultants that they didn't take advantage of and they wanted to tell this story instead. Huge missed opportunity. I don't recommend this film at all, but I would personally say that if you want to see what not to do, you can definitely watch this film.
Oh, man. For me, I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place because, we want to support Asian films and Asian American films and, representation and this is important. But I think this film also makes me realize that, Asian representation in front of the screen is important, but Asian representation behind the screen is just as important. I feel like, Asian American writers, Asian American director would have been great addition to this film, and that was missing, and I could tell so much. That's unfortunate. Do I recommend this film? I usually don't do recommendations. I do ratings, and so my rating for this film would be a 5 out of 10.
Wow.
Which is pretty bad.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
I usually don't give below 7 because a 7 out of 10 is a C, and that's average. 5 out of 10.
Yeah. My thoughts are similar to yours, Jonathan. You can clearly tell that, this film just had so many things wrong with it. From, if you're, I guess, an Asian perspective, that's why I wear the outside story. Our perspective is going to be different from every other person. But anyways, you can tell this story wasn't written with us in mind. It was very Western mind thinking. There was a part that when I watched it again today, I watched it a second time today for this podcast. Okay. I cringed throughout the whole time I watched it. There was this part where,
you, right?
Yeah, Ollie did watch it with me. But there's this part where Mulan's like, "No, I can't show my chi," and I was like, "Who are you, Elsa? What the heck? I must not, show my powers or whatever."
Conceal,
I was like,
"Don't feel."
Exactly. That's exactly
Mulan, but with Frozen soundtrack.
Those are my thoughts. Exactly. I was just like, I feel like so. It just blows my mind that Disney can write great films, animated films, right? Their writing on those are usually top notch. I really love Inside Out, the depths of all the characters. That's an amazing film, Inside Out, and the writing for that is spectacular. But then, what happens when it becomes live action? It all just goes to shit. Just look at all the live action films that they've done. Granted, I've really only seen a few of them because I'm not interested in seeing the live action. Beauty and the Beast I saw, but I don't remember it that well. I didn't watch Cinderella. Lion King was a hell no, I wasn't gonna watch that. Aladdin
Was okay, actually.
I kind of watched it, but I didn't really care for it.
Yeah.
So it's like, Disney, I'm going to tell you right now, stop all production on any live action film that you want to remake of, you know, the previous animated movies. Like, just don't. Like, something happens from, you know, like what we were talking about earlier, from like trying to keep it like to what the story was, but also like kind of changing it a little bit too. Like, this whole thing just gets lost in translation, and it's just bad overall. And yeah, but anyways, but then again, like I said, I was watching it today with my son Oliver, who is 5, and he was pretty into it the whole movie, except for maybe the last 20 minutes or so. He was kind of like done. He just wanted to play, but he was really interested in it, which for me as a mom, like, it was really fun to see and watch him be really interested in something, because he doesn't really like live action stuff. He's a kid.
Right,
he likes animated stuff. So it was fun to see him really just into it, paying attention, like asking questions. And, you know, like, I love to see that. I love him watching other people that look like him on screen. Like, he might not understand that right now because he's so young, but, you know, like, hopefully it'll change for the better by the time he gets older, you know what I mean? So I feel like, to anyone, this is just like a PSA to anyone who is writing something, like, if you're gonna write a story about someone of a different race, you need a person of color, whoever that is. Like, you need to
ask yourself first, like, am I the person to tell the story? Exactly. Like, yeah, so anyone, I implore anyone who is writing, screenwriting, writing a book, anything, like, just think about that. And
when
consult
you
others, right?
Yeah, consult others. Don't just, you can definitely use your experience, you know, in some ways, but, like, don't try to base your whole, you know, film script, whatever, off of someone else's experience that you think they would have done it this way.
Yeah.
It's just really sad that, you know, all this hype for this movie, and it was just like not everything we wanted it to be. I think that's how, like, all of us felt, like all Asian people felt, like all of our friends, like on Facebook, like it was just hilarious seeing like everyone's comments, like Mulan was bad, it was whack, it was trash. I was just laughing because it's, anyways. But yeah, so I do ratings too, and I would probably, same thing with like you, Jonathan. I would give it a 5. Like, if I could, maybe a 3.
Wow, dropped it way lower.
Okay, maybe a little bit. Okay, a 4. A 4. Like, it wasn't bad.
It was pretty bad, but
it was bad, but like,
What's worse, Dead Man Walking or Mulan?
Ooh. I can't choose between those two.
Well, one won an Academy Award, so I think we know which one won.
I mean, this one, they might win for, like, I don't know, best music or so, the best original song or something. I don't know. They might. I like Loyal, Brave, and True. That song was a good song. But yeah, my rating is very low, and it's just really sad to see, like, one of our favorite childhood films come to live action and be like a total flop. So yeah, those are kind of my final thoughts on Mulan. Will it get remade again? If it does, then you need some Asian writers, or all Asian people behind the screen writing, producing, directing, because I feel like you can, if you watch Crazy Rich Asians, if you watch The Farewell and you compare the writing, directing to Mulan, it's totally different. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell how different it is. If you're like us and need movie and TV snacks to get you through the pandemic, here are some of the shows and films we've been snacking on while we wait for stuff to release. Oh, and a special announcement.
During this whole quarantine, I've been watching a lot of Korean variety shows, and the big one I've been watching is called Master in the House, which is basically these 5 dudes go to like someone who's like an expert in their field, so like an actor, an actress, a CEO of someone, and they pretty much just follow them around for like a day and just kind of pick their mind a little bit, pick their brains. I've been binge watching that. Like that show is surprisingly very addicting. Like I learned a lot about like really old school artists and musicians and actors, actresses. Very, very interesting topics and very lovable cast and whatnot. And also I recently watched Enter the Fat Dragon with Donnie Yen. Enter the Fat Dragon is an old school film by Sammo Hung. It's like a satirical comedy on like Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon film, basically. And so Enter the Fat Dragon with Donnie Yen is a remake of that film. And I just thought it was really hilarious because they make so much throwbacks to like Donnie Yen's old films. But it got like a really bad score on IMDb. It's like 3 or 4 stars. I'm like, bro, like this is like a Donnie Yen fan film. Like this is like I love this film because it's for Donnie Yen fans. But like everyone else just didn't like it. I was like, no, I loved the film. I loved it. Also, we're preparing for our Halloween special next month, and I just recently finished The Wailing this past week. We're watching all these other horror films too, but for this particular podcast episode, I just finished The Wailing, and I thought that was just like that movie. It's a South Korean horror film released like 2016. Like that movie deserves its own episode, its own podcast episode. Like I'm this tempted to like suggest it. But it's a horror film, so I don't know if Jess will watch it. That's the problem. But it's not that bad of horror. That's why I think I can suggest it. But I'm not sure. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, other than that, we're just preparing for our Halloween special. So yeah, that's all I've been doing.
Let's see. I feel like it's kind of been a dry season for me in terms of movies and TV and stuff like that. I have a lot of stuff on the docket that I want to watch that I just haven't gotten around to. Yeah. I finally finished Lock and Key, and I thought it was fine. They're coming back with a season 2, so that one's it's I don't know if I'll watch season 2 unless it gets really, really good reviews. But I'm really excited for stuff like on the docket, like Lovecraft Country. Hello, like Jordan Peele, executive producer on this, and it's Lovecraft. I'm excited for that. There's a podcast that I follow. Shout out to Scream Queen podcast. They review horror TV and film, and they're both POC. And so it's a lot of fun listening to them. But I think they're talking through Lovecraft Country right now, and I can't listen to their podcast because I don't want to get spoiled. And so I'm going to start watching that soon, though. Excited for that. But I mean, other than that, it's honestly been a little slow. Just kind of waiting for stuff to come out. Especially, like, what was supposed to be, like, a summer blockbuster, like, season is just now just kind of dead because of COVID. Thanks, COVID. Yeah. But I can't think of anything else besides that. Yeah. Jess?
Yeah, so I finished It's Okay to Not Be Okay, I really enjoyed it. It's really good. K-drama on Netflix. You guys can check it out. I don't want to explain it.
Just a little fun fact. The original title of that show is called I'm a Psycho and It's Okay. Like, yeah, that's the original title.
That makes sense too. Like the main character, she was a little psycho.
That just doesn't translate well. So they said it's okay not to be okay. And like, I think that's a better title for a K-drama.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. But it was a really good K-drama. It talked a lot about mental health, which I found very surprising, especially for Asian Korean drama, because in the Asian community we don't really talk about that stuff. So it was great. They did. And then I kind of went through like a little bit of a dry spell too, and then I got bored and started watching Stranger Things again. The first season was so good. I was like, wow, it's so good. I forgot how good it was. But then I kind of stopped there. I didn't go to the next seasons. Yeah,
there's 3 seasons out right now.
They're on their
there's 3.
one, right? That's coming out soon.
Yeah, they're going to be on their 4th one. At least it's their last one.
I haven't even watched the 3rd season. I didn't really love 2nd season.
Yeah, 2nd season was okay.
Yeah. Third season I heard it was either hit or
better.
miss. Like you either really loved it or you did not like it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a fan.
I like the first season so much.
I love it.
I'm having a hard time trying to watch the other ones because I don't want to ruin it. Yeah, I don't want to ruin it.
The end of your
canon
is season 1.
Because season 1 is so good. I think it was perfect.
It is
great. Yeah.
It's really, really good. But well, season 2 is pretty
Yeah.
dark though. 3 kind of lightens up a little bit. Anyways, so yeah, I started watching Stranger Things. Jason and I finished just the first season again. And then I finished Handmaid's Tale finally, which was so good. And then it dragged on a little bit in the 3rd season, but the ending made up for it. Then I finished The Blind Spot. Do you guys know what that is?
No.
It's like an FBI. It's an FBI crime show where this girl,
It's not the Sandra
she
Bullock one. I'm kidding.
No, that's football. Oh yeah, this is
No, I
like
was talking about the one where they put the Sandra Bullock memes.
Oh, that one, Bird Box.
Yeah, Bird Box.
No, not
Anyway,
that.
yeah.
Oh, Blind Side. That's Blind Side.
yeah.
She was in. Anyways, but yeah, it's about this girl, Jane. She gets her memories wiped out basically in the first episode, and then like she comes out of like a bag in Times Square, and people think it's like a bomb, but she like climbs out of it, and like she's like tattooed everywhere. So basically, the FBI has to figure out what the tattoos mean, blah blah blah. So yeah, it kind of dragged on for 5 seasons. Like the same stuff
5
just kept
seasons.
happening. 5
Holy
seasons.
cow.
Okay, it was good. I loved it. Like I loved all like the science. It's not science. Like all the techie
Science.
I was like, it's not science.
Science.
But
Do you believe
Bill
in
Nye, the
science?
science guy, is a dad of someone in the show, which is funny, which I thought was hilarious. And he really is like Bill Nye. But yeah, I love all like the techie stuff, which was fun. Then I was like, oh, I'm on season 5. I should just finish it. And then I finally finished it, and I was like, dang, it stopped. I need more. But then I feel like if they did another season, it just would have been like the same thing over and over again. I'm glad they're done. They're done with that. And then recently started watching a new K-drama that just came out called Record of Youth. It's about 2 models and a makeup artist, and it stars Jessica from Parasite. She's in it. And it's so weird seeing her in this.
Quotes.
Jessica.
That's not her name.
Jessica. Yeah, Jessica. Yeah, so she's in it, and it's interesting to see her in this type of role because, you know, when you watch someone the first time, like in a movie, and then you watch them in something else, you like try not to associate their characters, but you can't help it.
Yeah.
You know that they're playing someone else, but anyways.
I was going to say, like, that's kind of how I felt when I was watching Train to Busan because
Yeah.
the main guy in Parasite is the kid in Train to Busan.
The son? Yeah.
I
The
didn't
son.
know that.
Yeah.
And I was like, he looks hella familiar. Oh, he's from Parasite. Okay, that's where I know him from. Yeah.
You gotta love Korean dramas and movies. They all use the same actors and actresses because
Yeah.
I just recognize so many people in all my dramas. But yeah, so I like it so far. She's a makeup artist for this company in Seoul, and she's a fangirl of one of the actors. He's a model and he's struggling to be an actor, but then she meets him and like tries not to fangirl over him. So I think it's so funny.
Like trying to keep it professional, but like super.
Exactly. So yeah, it's just funny because all the things that she says, like it sounds like me when I'm like fangirling over like BTS. I'm just like, ooh. So yeah, it's interesting. I like it so far, but we'll see if I probably still watch it, but since I have nothing else to watch right now. But yeah, that is all I am watching. Oh, and I'm watching BTS in the Soup. It's basically another reality show where they just watch them be themselves and do nothing. I love that.
Of course
And be
you do.
crackheads. Of course, they're so funny. Anyways, yeah, that's all I'm watching.
So for next month, stay tuned to a lot of the stuff. Again, go and visit our website at, is it The Outside?
Yes,
I don't
the
even know.
outside
Yeah,
story.
the outside.
The Outside Story.
Gosh, Jonathan.
TheOutsideStory.org. Go check it out. We write blogs. We do video essays and other stuff too of things that like we can't cover on the podcast. And so if you're interested in any of those things, like please go and check it out. And if you have content that you want to know our thoughts about, like send it our way and we will like take a look. We'll watch it. If it's a video game, we'll play it, you know, like we can give our thoughts on it if you want to know what we think. But in preparation for October, because it is September already, y'all, Larry and I are we got together and we came up with a list of movies that we want to watch for our Halloween special. I mean, our Halloween special last year, so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like little snippets here and there, so the episodes weren't too long. And a lot of y'all like responded and said that like some of those episodes were like your favorites, and so like we want to go back and kind of do that too. And Larry and I love horror films. Jess, not so much, unfortunately.
It depends on what it is.
You could just give it a try, and then if you don't like it, you could just like turn it off and be like, nope, I'm done. But yeah, so Larry and I came up with the list of movies. We're not going to disclose that list just yet, so stay tuned. And yeah, we're going to do a Halloween special. It's going to be a little bit smaller than last year, because last year we were trying to release an episode every day. That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
And we don't get paid for it, and so...
but if y'all want to pay us, please do. And we'll do it.
If you want to send donations, please do. But yeah, so we have a lot of fun. We're just going to watch horror movies, and yeah, and we're just... And, you know, there's a lot of good things coming out. Like Lovecraft Country, I talked about that a little bit earlier. It's finishing in October, and also The Haunting of Bly Manor is coming out in October as well. And so we want to... watch that. Of course, you guys know that me and Larry are big Mike Flanagan Flan boys, and so yeah, stay tuned for that. And I think also Larry has something else planned for October as well. Larry, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So in celebration of what we're doing for the Outside Story in October, every weekday starting in October, I will be streaming a horror game for about 3 hours from like 9 p.m. to midnight, and they will be somewhat related to the themes or the subjects of what we'll be talking about each week. I believe the first game I'll be playing is White Day, which is a South Korean horror game. And I posted a snippet of it on my Facebook. And some people were just watching. They're like, nope, I ain't watching that. I ain't sitting through that. But I have beaten White Day. So what I'll be doing is I'll be streaming these games using the Outside Story platform, this platform. So I'll be streaming it through Facebook, so it won't be like on YouTube or anything. So that way it's a little more central and concentrated. But the first game will be White Day. And I'll be doing a playthrough of that and just kind of go through all the little jump scares and scary moments. And you'll see me like noping a lot, but I'll do my best to have the courage and play through the game and beat it. But for those who...
Y'all brave.
I'm a chicken in that game. I like, okay, most horror games don't faze me. So when White Day fazed me, I'm like, okay, that's never happened to me before. But if you do end up missing the live streams, it's totally fine. I think I have plans to upload it onto our YouTube channel later as well, as to kind of like archive it and whatnot. So it'll be White Day and then Detention. And so all these games will try to be little hints of what type of films we'll be talking about throughout that week. So like I said, it'll be once every weekday from 9 p.m. to midnight. That's Pacific Standard Time for the live stream. And then you'll see the streamed archives on our YouTube channel later as well. So yeah, I'll release the list of games. So if you want to stay and watch like one particular game, like that's totally fine. You don't have to stop by all of them and whatnot. But yeah, I'll be trying my best to not scared to not be too chicken to play through the game. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I'll be doing for the Outside Story during our Halloween October special.
Cool. Sounds like October will be very spooky and, fun-filled.
Eventful.
For Halloween. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of The Outside Story. And again, I am Jessica.
I'm Larry.
And I'm Jonathan.
And we'll see you guys next time.